Today's reading begins in Leviticus, chapter 22, starting in verse 17. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and to his sons, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, Whoever is of the house of Israel, or of the foreigners in Israel, who offers his offering, whether it is any of their vows or any of their free will offerings, which they offer to the Lord for a burnt offering, that you may be accepted, you shall offer a male without defect, of the bulls, of the sheep, or of the goats. But you shall not offer whatever has a defect, for it shall not be acceptable for you. Whoever offers a sacrifice of peace offerings to the Lord to accomplish a vow, or for a free will offering of the herd or of the flock, it shall be perfect to be accepted. It shall have no defect. You shall not offer what is blind, is injured, is maimed, has a wart, is festering, or has a running sore to the Lord, nor make an offering by fire of them on the altar to the Lord. Either a bull or a lamb that has any deformity or lacking in his parts, that you may offer for a free will offering, but for a vow it shall not be accepted. You must not offer to the Lord that which has its testicles bruised, crushed, broken, or cut. You must not do this in your land. You must not offer any of these as the bread of your God from the hand of a foreigner, because their corruption is in them. There is a defect in them. They shall not be accepted for you. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, When a bull, a sheep, or a goat is born, it shall remain 7 days with its mother. From the 8th day on it shall be accepted for the offering of an offering made by fire to the Lord. Whether it is a cow or you shall not kill it and its young both in 1 day. When you sacrifice a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord, you shall sacrifice it so that you may be accepted. It shall be eaten on the same day. You shall leave none of it until the morning. I am the Lord. Therefore you shall keep my commandments and do them. I am the Lord. You shall not profane my holy name, but I will be made holy amongst the children of Israel. I am the Lord who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and tell them, The set feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my set feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no kind of work. It is a Sabbath to the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the set feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their appointed season. In the 1st month, on the 14th day of the month in the evening, is the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. In the 1st day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work, but you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and tell them, When you have come into the land which I give to you, and shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. He shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the next day after the Sabbath the priest shall wave it. On the day when you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a male lamb without defect, a year old, for a burnt offering to the Lord. The meal offering with it shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour, mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to the Lord for a pleasant aroma, and the drink offering with it shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. You must not eat bread, or roasted grain, or fresh grain, until this same day, until you have brought the offering of your God. This is a statute forever throughout your generations, in all your dwellings. You shall count from the next day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. The next day after the 7th Sabbath you shall count 50 days, and you shall offer a new meal offering to the Lord. You shall bring out of your habitations 2 loaves of bread for a wave offering, made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They shall be baked with yeast, for first fruits to the Lord. You shall present with the bread 7 lambs without defect, a year old, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They shall be a burnt offering to the Lord, with their meal offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire, of a sweet aroma to the Lord. You shall offer 1 male goat for a sin offering, and 2 male lambs a year old for a sacrifice of peace offerings. The priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. You shall make proclamation on the same day that there shall be a holy convocation to you. You shall do no regular work. This is a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you must not wholly reap into the corners of your field. You must not gather the gleanings of your harvest. You must leave them for the poor and for the foreigner. I am the Lord your God. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, there shall be a solemn rest for you, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. You shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, However, on the 10th day of this 7th month is the day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation to you. You shall afflict yourselves, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. You shall do no kind of work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whoever it is who shall not deny himself in that same day shall be cut off from his people. Whoever does any kind of work in that same day, I will destroy that person from amongst his people. You shall do no kind of work. It is a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for you, and you shall deny yourselves. In the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening to evening, you shall keep your Sabbath. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say, On the 15th day of this 7th month is the feast of booths, for 7 days to the Lord. On the 1st day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation to you. You shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You shall do no regular work. These are the appointed feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to the Lord, a burnt offering, a meal offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, each on its own day, in addition to the Sabbaths of the Lord, and in addition to your gifts, and in addition to all your vows, and in addition to all your freewill offerings, which you give to the Lord. So on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruits of the land, you shall keep the feast of the Lord 7 days. On the 1st day shall be a solemn rest, and on the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. You shall take on the 1st day the fruit of majestic trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever throughout your generations. You shall keep it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in temporary shelters for 7 days. All who are native-born in Israel shall dwell in temporary shelters, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in temporary shelters when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. So Moses declared to the children of Israel the appointed feasts of the Lord. The Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, beginning in verse 30. They, that is, Jesus and his disciples, went out from there and passed through Galilee. He didn't want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his disciples, and said to them, The Son of Man is being handed over to the hands of men, and they will kill him, and when he is killed, on the 3rd day he will rise again. But they didn't understand the saying, and were afraid to ask him. He came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, he asked them, What were you arguing amongst yourselves on the way? But they were silent, for they had disputed with one another on the way about who was the greatest. He sat down and called the 12, and he said to them, If any man wants to be first, he shall be last of all, and servant of all. He took a little child and set him in the middle of them. Taking him in his arms, he said to them, Whoever receives one such little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me doesn't receive me, but him who sent me. John said to him, Teacher, we saw someone who doesn't follow us casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him, because he doesn't follow us. But Jesus said, Don't forbid him, for there is no one who will do a mighty work in my name, and be able quickly to speak evil of me. For whoever is not against us is on our side. For whoever will give you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you are Christ's, most certainly I tell you, he will in no way lose his reward. Whoever will cause one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him if he were thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around his neck. If your hand causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life maimed, rather than having your 2 hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm doesn't die, and the fire is not quenched. If your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life lame, rather than having your 2 feet to be cast into Gehenna, into the fire that will never be quenched, where their worm doesn't die, and the fire is not quenched. If your eye causes you to stumble, throw it out. It is better for you to enter into God's kingdom with 1 eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into the Gehenna of fire, where their worm doesn't die, and the fire is not quenched. For everyone will be salted with fire, and every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, with what will you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace with one another. He arose from there and came into the borders of Judea and beyond the Jordan. Multitudes came together to him again. As he usually did, he was again teaching them. Pharisees came to him, testing him, and asked him, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" He answered, "What did Moses command you?" They said, "Moses allowed a certificate of divorce to be written, and to divorce her." But Jesus said to them, "For your hardness of heart he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of the creation God made them male and female. For this cause a man will leave his father and mother, and will join to his wife, and the 2 will become 1 flesh, so that they are no longer 2, but 1 flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate." In the house, his disciples asked him again about the same matter. He said to them, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. If a woman herself divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." Psalm 44, beginning in verse 1. We have heard with our ears, God. Our fathers have told us what work you did in their days, in the days of old. You drove out the nations with your hand, but you planted them. You afflicted the peoples, but you spread them abroad. For they didn't get the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but your right hand, your arm, and the light of your face, because you were favorable to them. God, you are my king. Command victories for Jacob. Through you we will push down our adversaries. Through your name we will tread down those who rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither will my sword save me. But you have saved us from our adversaries, and have shamed those who hate us. In God we have made our boast all day long. We will give thanks to your name forever. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 19. In the multitude of words there is no lack of disobedience, but he who restrains his lips does wisely.